Here we go. Welcome back to The Eminence in Shadow, Anime Review Episode 15. Here reviewing, from what I can tell, and this is definitely it, where we're the last two episodes of Season 2. Now, unknown if this is going to be a Season 3, I'll talk more about it later, but I knew there was a movie coming. That probably next thing I'll probably review the series, along with the spin-off series, yes. I do not know how long these are. These are kind of like the shorts, but I'll probably review them later. So in the case of these two episodes, we have basically, okay, so I teased this last time. So what do we find out about Perv Asset and the Queen of Orion Kingdom, Rose's mom? They're sleeping together. First, they're seen making out, and then and then Clyde, as Shadow, brings Rose to see what he saw, except this was different. Because I think in the book, I think it was just a makeout session. In the anime, thank God that it was just images here and there. Basically, Rose saw her mom having sex with her fiance. Yep, that's exactly what happened. And she vomited, which is something new. She didn't do it in the book per se. She was actually gasped by this, but she wasn't vomiting, but that was something new. So she comes with the idea, so she comes with resolve basically to take out Perv Asshat. So then we have the wedding. By the way, Margaret reunites with Clyde briefly. That he walks off and he doesn't see her during the rest of the episode. Margaret is briefly seen where she just slaps down a cup of tea, splash a little bit of liquid on the table. I'm like, that's a bit rude of her. But she probably sees Rose as a traitor. So then apparently she got her hands on the ring that Clyde stole from Perv Asshat. And of course Perv does notice the day of the wedding, like, okay, so, like, time out, make it around. The opens thing, oh crap, the ring is not here. Where's the ring? Takes off the shoe. And Mort's like, well, good luck for your ceremony. Contacts will be here. And then they have the ceremony. Or he says, Do you take this woman? I do. And of course, Rose is like, I don't. What? Perv Asshat, I accuse you, I pronounce you guilty of treason against the kingdom. And of course, she takes up the ring, puts on her finger, and apparently we have a video will. Yes, a video will. Which is interesting, the fact that they have this level of technology for sort of a 19th century style world. Where her father, the king, reveals that, oh yeah, Perv Asshat drugged him, and he's a traitor. And the fact that he tried to get his wife to help him, the clean up. But no, she was living with him all along. So basically the whole country turns against Perv Asshat, and Rose is basically proclaimed the ruler. Yeah, automatically the new queen. And then, of course, basically her mother is then she beheads Perv Asshat, and then her mom is killed by, well, the priest, who turns out to be Mordred in disguise. Like, haha, I'm the ninth man behind man. I'm a summon. Here's a little switch. Bing! Here's this god of Ragnarok, a freaking dragon. He's like, haha, I'm going to destroy this kingdom. All of a sudden, oh crap, its arms were chopped off. What the heck happened? Well, that's when Shadow shows up, playing the piano, and he begins to fight the thing. Though the thing also unleashes a bunch of, like, creatures on the kingdom itself. And you probably noticed, basically, watching the episode, like, wait, why is there people here in this film and people fled? Well, it turns out the film members here are members of Shadow Garden. It's like, oh crap, they're here. So then Beta and Epsilon handle him while Rose handles other stuff, being the queen. She tells Margaret to have the palace staff evacuate to the cellar to protect them. And, of course, well, that's basically... Margaret's like, no problem with that at all. It's like, yeah, used for ancient times. Of course, she bows, and of course, she eliminates all the ones in the palace and has Shelgar eliminate all the ones in the town. And, of course, Beta and Epsilon question him. It's like, yeah. And, of course, like, ooh, is that sort of the reason why I call the man behind man? It's like, yep. Yeah, and it turns out the sword and his armor, his cool-looking armor he has, was stolen from elves. Yep. Yeah, stolen from elves. And, of course, he gets beaten by two women. Two beautiful women, mind you. Oh yeah, that's also a joke about now here's the Epsilon, like there's a mention in the book like, oh, Clyde hides behind her breast for some reason. Not sure why, but he does. And of course he's beating, of course Rose beating the monster. I think it's a history lesson where it's like, ooh, there's other realms. Like, this dialogue is pure setup for the second half of book 4. That's literally what this thing is. That's what he's doing here. He is setting us up in the final episode of the season. He is setting up book 4, which we did not get because apparently the season ended with episode 12. Not sure why, though. It's kind of weird that the first season basically had it where you had one book covered in 9.5 episodes, and then you have book 2. Same thing, 9.5. And then you get to book 3. That's covered in 8 episodes. Okay. Actually, more like 7. 28 was actually just the original. And then you have these 4 episodes covering just the prologue and the first 3 chapters. You're thinking, is that the whole book, book 4? No. There's a whole second half, which the end of this episode does set it up. A lot of setup for it, which I'll get to that. So they break down the fact that this is actually one of many worlds. There's like a world of ice, fire, poison, dark tombs, and it's almost one or probably the real world, which we're gonna get to that. So then, of course, like, yeah, like look at my information world, and of course, apparently, Diablos, like, oh, is Diablos the one they worship? Is he from the worlds? No, he's actually from their world, but the first host came from that world. I'm like, that's interesting. So, by the way, Shadow is basically just easily beating up the Ragnarok. So, then of course goes down the ground, and Mordor's like, yeah, I'm basically gonna just fight it myself. He merges Ragnarok, takes on Shadow, and then they decide to fly to frickin' outer space, and he does his I am atomic, which he always does at the end of every story. Kills him, and then and of course they explain about the he does some expansion upon the story told last episode, where previous episode, where they're basically about this special device that it opened up and it made this whole army disappear. He does expand upon this to where they got replaced with a bunch of magical creatures that were going to kill the kingdom, and the only way they were stopped was with a portal being closed. And then, of course, then after Mordred is killed, then a black hole opens up over the sky of the Ornan Kingdom. Shadow touches it. Bea stays behind. Despite the fact, I heard that in the spin-off material that they actually do fix this. Because I think that what happened was that the animation studio may have... This is my guess what happened here. By the way, the ring is destroyed when Shadow goes. Before I continue what happens next... Now, my guess is what happened here is that maybe they wanted a different direction or something, or probably that the creator was not happy that they all did this very important thing. So they fix this in a spin-off story. Yes, this is actually fixed. So Bea does go with him, but we'll see that later. And then we go back to Japan. Now you're thinking, wait, it's an isekai, and they go back to the real world. Now, as far as I can tell for anime-wise, this I can think of, this is probably the first time I can think of this has happened, because this is something you don't usually see happen, where you have characters who get reborn or get transported in the world, and they go back to the actual world. And you're like, really? As far as I can tell, of all the isekais I have ever watched, none of them have ever had a strong desire to go back to the world. It's like, the world itself is not even seen. It does happen in one series where they actually do go back at the end of the series, but that's not adapted yet. But in terms of anime, this is the first time I've seen this. Though this is also different, also because when we see Japan, it's in ruins, and you're thinking, what the heck happened? So it turns out that magical beasts invaded the world not long after Clyde's original life ended. They invaded the world. They actually invaded Japan and decimated Japan. So Akane is proclaimed the savior, and the whole thing with knights. And then she gets kidnapped on her way home from school. Well, the school that she went back to, she's 20. And she's kidnapped by the same guys who kidnapped her in episode 1. And she apparently doesn't recognize the fact these two are the same guys. You would think that she would, given the fact they're dressed the same. And apparently the muscle guy, the military guy, apparently he's brainless now. That's what he calls him. And of course he's about to strangle her. And then Shadow shows up and kills both of them. It shines his line. You see him a lot of the time in the series. And of course, then apparently she knows the name Shadow, which is strange. Like, it's like, oh, by the way, they go to the same exact warehouse from the very first episode. Does Akane recognize the fact it's the same warehouse? No! It's just basically, watch the anime, can tell, yeah, this is the same warehouse. Heck, the skylight was still destroyed in the first episode. When Shadow shows up, he basically just vaporizes the roof. Excuse me, but this was a good ending to it, but it's basically a cliffhanger. You just think, oh, are we going to see what happens next? Nope. Because apparently we decided to end the season right here and continue in a movie. For reasons. I'm not sure why. It is kind of weird, though, the fact that we end this, we end right here. It's kind of like, we end where we began. Some might say. Okay. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so name an anime you watched where it's sort of it's a isekai, where they go back to the real world. Aside from Free, which happened at the end of the series for that one, as far as I can tell, of the ones I have seen, of the many I have seen over the course of reviewing anime for the past 7 years, where they go back to the real world. And I'm not talking about Bleach with Soul Side, because they go back and forth all the time. I'm talking about basically to be in the fantasy world for a long time, and then going back to the real world. This, as far as I can tell, the very first anime to do this. Yes. 100%. Now, I'm not going to spoil what happens at the end of book 4, because the end of book 4 sets up more for the next couple books, which, now, book 5 is going to release in July. Now, also, in case you're curious, though, like with the movie, like, the obvious question is, what is the title of this movie, you might ask? Well, the name of this movie is Lost Echoes, which looks like, yes, it's gonna be covering that second half of book 4. How long the movie's gonna be, I don't know. I have honestly no idea. Yeah. I mean, the final episode was released in Japan in December 20th, just a few days from Christmas. But, okay, it's interesting, though. So, Mary, the vampire, hunter, who was actually made, she's voiced by Caitlin Barr, who I had met. Who I'm older than she is. Yep. So, Akane, the one we've seen from the first episode of the series and this episode, she's voiced by Natalie Rall. So you are thinking, who is Natalie Rall? And is she related to Monica Rial? The answer is yes. So, Natalie Rial is Monica Rial's younger sister. And Monica is now, Natalie Rial is 28 years old. Yep. And of course, I have seen her in, aside from this very series, she was also in Shirefeld Night and To Love Ru. Well, To Love Darkness, excuse me. So technically, in a way, this is the 4th anime I've heard her in. But it's interesting, she comes back for this one episode. Yeah, playing a character who only appeared in 2 episodes of the entire series. Yes. Now, some might be thinking, okay, so is there like a trailer or something for the movie? No, not really. I have not heard anything at all. Here's something also kind of weird though. The first season is on DVD. Yep, that certainly is true. It is on DVD, but by the way, when the second season started, now when they aired the first season, it aired from in Japan from October 5th, 2022, and the final episode released in February 15th, 2023, basically about a little over a year ago. Um, in the case of when it aired in English, it's like UK, but English, aired here day after Christmas 2022, and it did not conclude until May of last year, May 8th. Season 2, meanwhile, both started in Japan and here, October 4th of last year, and it concluded on December 20th, just a handful of days for Christmas. Yeah, one of those rare cases where they actually released an episode the same day. Yeah. But this season was really... I thought the season, like, the first episode was really good. The middle portion, the whole thing with Council, I thought that was okay. But then you get to these last episodes where they're so good. Yes. So, out of 12 episodes, you might think, like, okay, like, how much the season is bad? I mean, 24 to about 27 is not bad per se. It's just that it's not as good as what came before. That's the biggest problem with it. And they do kind of confirm here at the end of the episode that Juggernaut might be officially dead, but they don't show his body per se. They just show Delta laying on the ground, probably sleeping after she killed Juggernaut. That's presumably happened here. Mm-hmm. But yes, this is gonna be it for the series for now. Until whenever they decide to release that movie, whenever it's gonna come out, I have no idea. So with this series finished up, and this season, I'm gonna go back to Hurricane Ranger. I'm gonna watch the next 4 episodes, watch Case Closed, and then come back to do 4 more episodes of this thing. I only have 18 to go for the whole series of Hurricane Ranger. Yep. Excuse me. And now, another question you might be asking is, I just finished Eminence and Shadow. Wasn't there an anime I was going to do? Well, I didn't want to stay away from Hurricane Ranger too long because I was going to do 3, but because basically I was working a lot more, that's why I didn't do more than I only did just 1, and that was it. So, when next week with next series, when I will review that final episode of Hurricane Ranger, excuse me, it will be the Demon Sword of Excalibur Academy. Yep, that'll be the next series I cover for anime-wise. Yep, I figured out why not. Yep. But yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit the dislike button. Next up, back to Hurricane Ranger. Okay? Next video. Bye.